Carl Jung, Shadows, Archetypes, and the Collective Unconscious, Journeys into the Psyche. We all have a public face, the curated self we present to the world, a collection of smiles, ambitions, and carefully chosen words. But within, beneath the surface, lies a different world entirely. A vast, dark ocean of forgotten memories, dormant fears, and raw, untamed urges. It is the part of us we deny, the part we try to hide, even from ourselves. It is the shadow. We believe our stories are our own, that our dreams, our myths, our instincts belong only to us. But what if they are echoes from a deeper well? What if the human experience, across all cultures and all time, is woven from the same primordial threads? What if there is a collective memory, a shared inheritance that shapes who we are and who we are yet to become? Today, we journey into that inner world. We will speak with a mind who dared to map the landscape of the psyche, and in doing so, changed our understanding of ourselves forever. He was a man who listened to the whispers of the soul, and saw in our nightmares and our myths the universal language of the unconscious. Carl Gustav Jung was born in Switzerland in 1875, the son of a Protestant pastor. His childhood was marked by intense loneliness and vivid dreams that convinced him of an inner world more real than the one he inhabited. This early fascination with symbols and the supernatural would guide his entire life's work. He became a psychiatrist and, for a time, a close colleague of Sigmund Freud, who saw in Jung his intellectual successor. However, their collaboration dissolved over fundamental disagreements about the nature of the unconscious. While Freud saw the psyche as driven by repressed sexual desires, Jung envisioned a far broader, more mystical landscape. Jung's break with Freud led him on a solitary and often perilous journey into his own unconscious, a period he documented in his famed Red Book, filled with visions and archetypal figures. He went on to develop his own school of analytical psychology, traveling the world to study myths, religions, and ancient symbols, convinced they were keys to understanding the human soul. Through his groundbreaking work, Jung introduced concepts like the collective unconscious, archetypes, and the shadow, all of which would become the language we now use to explore our deepest mysteries. In this imagined conversation, we will explore the core tenets of Jungian thought, drawing primarily from his works Man and His Symbols, 1964, and Psychology and Alchemy, 1944. We will focus on the most profound and influential of his ideas. First, the shadow, the dark, unexamined side of our personality. Second, archetypes, the universal patterns of the human psyche that manifest in myths, stories, and dreams. And finally, the collective unconscious, the ancestral, shared psychic inheritance of all humanity. We will ask him to help us understand how these unseen forces shape our lives, from our personal relationships to the political movements of our time, And most importantly, we will ask him how we can engage in individuation, the lifelong process of becoming a unified, whole self. So prepare to embark on a journey not into history, but into the depths of your own mind, where the past and the future, the light and the dark meet.
Mr. Jung, you broke with Freud over the nature of the unconscious. Can you explain your concept of the collective unconscious?
The personal unconscious contains our repressed memories and experiences. But beneath that, I believe there is a deeper, shared layer, the collective unconscious. It is the psychic residue of all human history, an inherited structure that contains the universal patterns of thought and behavior. It is the repository of our shared human experience.
And within this collective unconscious, you identified archetypes. What are these exactly? Are they symbols?
Archetypes are not symbols in themselves, but rather the psychic framework, the blueprints that give rise to symbols. They're universal, primordial images or patterns that manifest in our dreams, myths, fairy tales, and religions. The hero, the wise old man, the mother, the trickster. These are not learned concepts. They are innate structures of the psyche that are activated by our experiences.
Your most famous archetype is the shadow. What is this darker aspect of the psyche?
The shadow is the dark side of our personality, the sum of all those undesirable qualities we wish to hide both from ourselves and from others. It is everything we have repressed or denied, our greed, our anger, our shame. The shadow is not evil in itself. It is the part of us we simply refuse to know.
Why is it so crucial for us to confront this shadow? Is it a dangerous process?
It is a dangerous process, but a necessary one. If we ignore our shadow, it does not disappear. Instead, it will project itself onto others, onto our partners, our political enemies, or entire nations. The individual who fails to confront their inner darkness will inevitably see it at work in the world around them. It is the origin of much conflict.
So, to truly know ourselves, we must integrate the shadow.
Precisely. The goal is not to eliminate the shadow, which is impossible, but to become conscious of it. This process is called integrating the shadow. It involves acknowledging our own darkness, taking responsibility for it, and bringing it into the light of consciousness. Only then can we stop projecting it outward.
How does one begin this process? It sounds quite intimidating.
It begins with introspection, with paying attention to our dreams, our slips of the tongue, and our emotional reactions to others. It is about asking, why does this person or situation irritate me so intensely? Often what we find most repulsive in others is a reflection of our own unexamined shadow.
You called the ultimate goal of psychological development individuation. What is the endpoint of this journey?
Individuation is the process by which a person becomes a whole, indivisible being. It is the integration of the conscious and the unconscious, the masculine and the feminine, the light and the dark. The endpoint is not perfection, but a state of being fully and uniquely oneself, without fear or pretense.
Is individuation a solitary journey, or does it require relationships with others?
It is an intensely solitary journey, for no one can walk your path for you. However, it is also a journey deeply intertwined with relationships. The people we meet, the loves we have, the conflicts we endure, they are all mirrors. They help us see what is inside us, and they provide the crucible in which we can grow.
Finally, Dr. Jung, you saw the psyche as more than just a biological phenomenon. You saw a spiritual dimension to it. Can you elaborate on that?
I believed that the psyche in its deepest layers is inherently religious. The symbols and archetypes that emerge from the collective unconscious are often the very symbols that form the basis of our myths and spiritual traditions. The search for wholeness is in essence the search for the divine within.
Mr. Jung, in a world dominated by social media, where people carefully curate their public image, how do you think this persona affects the health of our psyche and the development of the shadow?
The persona has always been a mask we wear in society, but with social media, that mask has become a performance, an all-consuming act. This extreme focus on a perfected public image creates an equally extreme and potent shadow. What is denied and repressed must go somewhere. So as we project a more flawless self online, our unintegrated darkness grows more volatile and dangerous. The quest for likes and external validation only widens the chasm between who we are and who we pretend to be, making the work of individuation more urgent than ever.
Carl Jung, the architect of a new psychological landscape, offers a profound framework for understanding the human experience. He takes us beyond the personal dramas of our lives and into a vast, ancient sea of archetypes and shared memories. He reminds us that we are not just individuals, but heirs to a rich, collective psychic history. But his most urgent message is a call to confrontation. He asks us to look into the mirror and see not just the person we pretend to be, but the shadow we have pushed into the darkness. To make peace with our flaws, our repressed desires, and our fears is not an act of surrender, but the first courageous step toward becoming whole. Jung's wisdom shows us that the journey inward is not an escape from the world, but the only path to truly engaging with it. To individuate is to find our authentic place, not by conforming to external expectations, but by daring to become who we were truly meant to be. And so, we must have the courage to find our own.